Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to my channel. So last week I tried to post a video of Kaylia, somebody tell me how to say her name. I'm pretty sure it's Kaylia, it's spelled like Kaylia, or is it Kaylia? Write it down, please, for me on how it's like phonetically pronounced or whatnot, but I'll just say Kaylia for now. Sorry if it's wrong, but I did Kaylia Nemour's bar routine, however, YouTube copyrighted me, so I couldn't post it. So I'm hoping that now this works. So if you're seeing this video, it's because it works, so yay! Alright, so we're gonna break down her Olympic golden bar routine. I knew it. I always knew she was gold potential. She's just so good. It was gonna be a tough one between her and the girl from China, who I can never say her name correctly, Chuin. That was probably so not right, but I'm sorry. So I wasn't surprised when she won gold, especially hitting all of her connections and doing it impeccable. So let's, without further ado, oh, you guys, I totally always forget to say this. Did you guys know that I have designed a bunch of sports shirts and, like, obviously gymnastics shirts? I'll put up a few of my popular designs here and also some of my most recent designs because I saw an opportunity, babes, and I jumped on it and people are loving it. So if you want to check out those shirts, feel free. Thanks for supporting my Etsy shop and, of course, my YouTube channel. Let's jump into the video. Okay, so I'm going to go through it by pieces and section of each bar routine. So we have her M-bar full to M-bar laid out to Kachib. First of all, let's just breathe in how beautiful her bar routine, and exhale any of the doubts we've ever had about a human being being able to do this, because she has proved all of us wrong. I will say, Kaylia's bar routine and Simone Biles and Rebecca with her rear chinko triple, they continuously humble me because I think at some point it can't get any harder, right? At some point, gymnastics is gonna cap. And then people like this come along. People like Simone, people like Rebecca, and they pretty much just go to my subconscious thought. And they're like, oh, you think there's a cap? You're so dumb little girl. So I just think it's really amazing that she has been able to connect all of these tremendously hard skills. Not only are the skills themselves so tremendously hard, and I'm going to break down why, to connect them, bro, it's unreal. It's crazy. And I know the French are just kicking themselves in the wee little arse right now. Oh, well. Okay, so here we go. We got our in bar. First of all, you're going to see her do this technique a lot. In my opinion, this is one of the best and most efficient and practical techniques when you're going into any type of circling on bars, but especially circling that you have to generate more power out of because you're doing things with it. Like if you're doing a toe on toe off, it's smart to learn the toe on toe off with this arch snap technique, because we hope that the toe on toe off can eventually go into a toe half, a toe full, a toe de kachev, a toe shaposh, etc. So it's really important, I think, to always have this type of technique going where you have the arch snap technique, because it does help generate more power than maybe other techniques. That's my personal opinion. That's the opinion of a lot of coaches and gymnasts that I've spoken with and learned from. And I don't just get this assumption opinion based off my own experience, like having literally done many variations of the toe on toe off. I did toe fulls, toe halves. I worked a little bit of M-bars. I did stalters. I did stalter fulls, stalter halves, front stalters, which that's irrelevant. You don't do that technique, so just ignore that part. The shaposhes, both the stalter version or variation version, I guess they're the same, but both in stalter and toe on toe off form. And from my own personal experience, this technique has always allowed me to have the most power. Clinics that I've attended, clinics that I've watched, just coaches that I've analyzed and learned from, because I'm always doing some type of like gymnastics research as a coach to learn. And so I'll look up a lot of like training videos on YouTube, and 99% of them, it's always this technique. So this is an important position I wanted to point out. She's doing this, like I said, to generate the power. you'll notice that as she is pushing into the in bar, you'll notice her shoulders pushing back, and she holds this arch drop for a really long time because she's pushing her body back to then put it at the perfect angle where she can scoop her feet through her hands at the bottom of the bar. If she's going to try to put her feet on early, or I shouldn't say on, through early, it's going to be really hard to generate enough power to do what she's about to do. Plus, it's probably going to be hard to get her feet in between her legs. So now she's got to contract and hold this in bar really strong and then pull her legs out at the right time to start turning her hips first. So when we're doing blind changes and those types of twisting, circling elements, you're going to want your hips to go first, which it makes sense. Your hips are the center of your gravity, right? It contains your core and your glutes being the strongest muscle in your body, which somebody fact check me on that, because I thought it was your glutes. Some people have told me it's the jaw. I don't know, fam. I believe both, but like, honestly, the glutes, I feel like I could glute bridge more than I could like bite down, you know what I'm saying? But I might be wrong on that one. But nonetheless, your glutes are one of, if not the strongest muscles in your body. So it just makes sense that our center of gravity would be leading us, especially on bars, which is a very anti-gravity type of event. So she's going to start with her hips, and her toes follow. Her toes go with her hips. Everything works together, but we've got to have a pilot and a co-pilot. And the pilot's going to be the hips. The co-pilot's going to be your toes, your arms, things like that, all mixed in with the momentum. So now as she starts the in-bar full, you'll see the hips going, and then she's going to transfer her hips, her center of gravity, over to her shoulders, over her wrists, so she can get the full done well. She's in a pretty good degree handstand. This isn't the best angle, but I think even from the judges' angle, she's got a pretty good angle finishing the toe full handstand. Same technique. See what I mean? She's going into the same technique to now go into her in-bar laid out Tkachev, which again, a laid out Tkachev in itself is a very difficult skill. If you think about it, you have to go high enough to stay laid out where you don't hit your feet on the bar and be able to catch it. And the fact that she's also doing this with an in bar is even harder, because with a toe on, toe off, your toes are on the bar and you can almost use your toes as like a slingshot off the bar. When you're an in bar, you have to solely rely on your compression capability in the in bar and how strong and quick you are on the out of the in bar, versus being able to also rely on the bar. So it's a little bit trickier. Basically, think of it as training wheels versus no training wheels. Your toes on is a training wheel, toes off is not. So it's a little bit difficult, although not impossible, but we all usually, doing these skills, you can just feel how one is harder than the other, and in-bar is very difficult. So now as she goes into in-bar Tkachev, it's the same arch technique, the same timing of putting her feet under. Right here is very crucial for this laid out Tkachev. I mean, for any Tkachev, but especially the layout, because like I said, she has to get high enough to be able to complete this skill correctly, but most importantly, safely. So right here, you'll notice that where her arms start to throw, her armpits are angled at that 45 almost, and that's where she wants to start throwing the bar so she can start in this movement. She has to literally fling herself off the bar hard enough and at the right angle to allow physics plus the work she's doing after throwing for it to all work together. So not only is she throwing her bar at the right angle and the right momentum for physics to help her, now that she's gotten into that position of her work with physics, now she's got to take that physics with the next step of work, which is going to be actively sitting up while physics is doing it. I keep spinning. Am I okay? She has to actively be sitting up, driving her heels, staying open while physics is also helping her. So you'll see as she lets go for that laid out Tkachev, she's bringing her chest up, driving her heels back, staying open and arched so she can get credit for the layout. And her eyes are going to be looking right here, right at that bar. And there is that laid out Tkachev. Now, we move on to the next segment of skills. She goes to a pack, to immediate in-bar shapash. So right here, in the pack, she has to, I love a pack. I love the biomechanics of a pack, because I don't know why. It just makes sense to me, the pack, because it's just like you put your feet at that angle and you almost like glue your feet up in the air, and then you let your lower body, the lower half of the pack, which is technically your upper body, you let your upper body kind of just like swing right there while you glue your feet up in the air. Now, that sounds a lot easier than done, but to me, like the visual of it just makes a lot of sense. So she has to put her feet up at that 45 angle, leave them there, stall them there. That's going to involve a lot of hamstring and glute strength along with her core, her glute, did I say glute? And then control in her ribs where she's allowing herself to arch, but not be in a loose arch. So she leaves her feet up, she lets go, automatically has to throw her head back to look for that low bar while keeping those feet stalled up in the air, and then lets gravity, momentum do its thing as she reaches. So now as she reaches to the bar, she's not going to literally be able to leave her feet where they started, but having left her feet there as she lets go, and now she's reaching to the bar, now the feet can follow as she lands the pack. And this is very crucial that her pack is on point, because she has to land her pack in this position. So in her mind, before she's caught the bar, she's like, it's time to get into our arch snap position, because this arch snap is now her basically restarting the next skill. Is she supposed to land a pack like this? Yes and no. Her shoulder should be over her wrist just a little bit more. However, she's not doing a pack by itself. She's doing a pack connected into a shaposh. The shaposh itself requires you to have some type of drop technique like this to have enough momentum power to get from low bar to high bar. So really, she's already starting her in-bar shaposh right here. She's not just landing the pack. She's restarting a new skill mid-pack. So it's crucial that as she lands the pack here, you see her shoulders are a little bit pushed back from her wrist. She's in her arch technique, and she knows as I'm pushing my shoulders back, my legs are arched, my core is arched. I've now got to be doing all of that while snapping my feet under the bar again to do the same type of technique she did in her Takashi. You know, like, that's kind of like the beautiful thing about gymnastics is it's really freaking hard, but a lot of the times you'll notice these techniques, these shapes, they follow you on all four events, at least for the women's. I don't know much about men's gymnastics, so I can't say that, but at least with women's gymnastics, like, there's a lot of shapes that are going to follow you to every event. There's a lot of techniques that are going to follow you to every event. The concept and the logic with a lot of techniques in gymnastics, it follows you on almost every event, depending on, of course, the skills. Not every time, of course, but, like, you know what I'm saying. So now she lets go for the shaposh, not as early as she did for the Tkachev, because obviously the Tkachev, she has to catch the same bar, but she's still going to be keeping in mind it's the same type of throw technique and aggression. However, where her armpits are going versus when she's letting go is going to be able to dictate what physics is going to do with her. So instead of letting go early and taking her shoulders more 45, now she's taking her shoulders a little bit below 45, letting go a little later. So now instead of going from here to here, which allows her to catch the Tkachev, she's going from here to here, which allows her to catch the shaposh. So now she catches the shaposh, and we move on to the next segment. She does an uprise, stalter full. So right here, as she lands the uprise, again, as she catches her shaposh, she's like, okay, I'm restarting a skill, and now I'm going into the stalter full, because you'll notice as she lands her pack or catches her pack, she has to be pushing her hands down on the bar so that her upper back can go up and be pushing on the bar to allow her enough height and momentum while she's driving her feet up to then get into this position, the same position that we've been talking about in that drop technique for any type of circling. The difference is, though, she is not in the same degree out of her cast handstand that she is in the pack. So out of the shaposh. So her doing a stalter full out of her pack is extremely difficult, because she's not doing an uprise to handstand out of the pack. She's basically doing an uprise to horizontal. So now, when she's normally started her arch snap at handstand and has held that to horizontal, now she has to start the arch snap at horizontal, hold it below, and work very quick and fast and be very, extremely strong to now be able to compress and contract under the stalter full to be able to make the stalter full. So here you see that arch. She's pushing her shoulders back to have enough stretch momentum to make the stalter full. Here's that contraction shape, that pull shape. And then she's same thing as the toe full or the in-bar full we talked about, leading with the hips. Same thing in the stalter full. We're going with the hips, toes, and hands all follow. Now going into the next segment, out of the stalter full, she does another stalter Tkachev half to a straddle back half. Now, I didn't pause it on this one. I think I just kind of missed it. But right here, now going into the stalter Tkachev, there's that same arch snap. You see how she's using that technique into every circling. So now she does her stalter Tkachev. Same thing. We've gone over the shoulders, the opening. She doesn't open as archy like she did the layout Tkachev, but she's not doing a layout Tkachev. She's doing an actual straddled Tkachev out of the stalter. So now she has to keep her legs straight. Keep them straddled and apart, so there's not going to be as big of a hip opening like you would see in the layout because it's a completely different position. So she has to leave her hips slightly piked so she can straddle through, which we call a Shushanova, as we're reaching through the legs. And so that's why you see that shape be a little bit different. But again, from the armpits, the chest, the throwing, still going to be very similar to the layout Tkachev. It's just she's going to be more open in the layout Tkachev in the beginning because she's really having to yank and arch to make the open laid out Tkachev, versus here she can straddle, so she's going to pike through. So now she sees the bar perfectly, and now she has to start crossing. Right here, she starts crossing her hands. Y'all, this is the wildest skill to me because the amount of accuracy and strength you have to have for this skill is unfathomable. So as she's doing all these hard skills, she's got to cross her hands, crisscross. What is happening? Okay. She has to cross her hands, catch the bar, and be strong enough and accurate enough where it's going to twist her, which is a lot of force, to be able to hold on, first of all, but also be able to hold on strong enough to do, see how everything's turning? It's literally twisting her. She ends up with her hands like this now, so not human, okay, into a straddle back half. So again, talk about like a camel through the eye of a needle. Very small margin of error can happen and for this to all work. So it's very impressive and very difficult. So now she makes the straddle back half, has to be on point enough and see the bar to now redo everything we just started in the other shaposh, same drop. Only thing is she's doing it out of a twisting skill. So you can see she landed still a little twisted and crooked, which I would assume is probably a deduction, but it's super difficult. So but I'm not sure if this is a deduction, but under my assumption, landing the skill like that a little twisted sounds like it would be a deduction, but who knows? I don't do the fig judging. But not only is she having to do now another shaposh just out of a flight element from high to low, she's doing it out of a twisting element high to low, which results, which she has to fight the momentum and the twisting G-force to get into the next shaposh skill. So she's having to land this straddle back half. Same thing we already went over. Shoulders pushed back, arms pushing down on the bar. She's starting that arch technique already, as you see. That's the red part. She's pushing her hips back with it. That's the green arrow you see coming from her hip area. To now go into the stalter. So we've already gone over the biomechanics of the stalter shaposh half. So same throw concept as the Tkachev. Now she's got to throw and tuck in depending on what her good side is to now catch the bar. So now we can finally see her do the second kip of her routine. And if you know gymnastics, the fact that she does 2 kips in this whole bar routine is wild. Wild. So now she finally does her second kip. Yay! Cast handstand, toe full. We've kind of already gone over the biomechanics of the toe full, and she goes automatically into the double A. When I shouldn't say biomechanics of the toe full, the drop, the in-bar stuff, and I've kind of gone through the toe full aspect. So here she goes into the toe full, that same arch drop that you just saw. Right here, she takes those toes off, starts the hips, the body follows. She's got to be now, so she has to land her toe full as close to handstand as possible because she connects a double layout right out of it, which is doing a double layout or any dismount, honestly, but especially those E type of dismounts, your full outs, your full ins, your double A's, double Arabians, things like that. Those dismounts are really hard to do from just a handstand versus doing them out of giants because you can create momentum in the giants. So doing a double layout out of this handstand is already really difficult, but doing it out of a toe full where, again, you want to be accurate. And mind you, she's doing this toe full at the end of the bar routine after all of these skills. And I don't know what it is about bar cardio, but it's a whole different world. It doesn't matter how good a cardio you have, how many circuits you've done, who you've been trained by. Bar cardio is different because it's all on your forearms. It's all on your hands. You're breathing upside down the majority of the time. It's different. You have to train bar cardio to be bar cardio ready. You can't just go and do a bunch of circuits and be ready on floor like you could comparing the circuits to floor because they're very similar. It involves your legs and involves that anaerobic type of activity where you're sprinting and then you're slowing down. You're sprinting and you're slowing down. That's your floor. That's your, tumbling your choreography. You're tumbling your choreography. That's not, is it going to get you strong? Sure, and that's going to help on bars, but it's not going to correlate the same way as you doing bar cardio for your bar routine. So I just want to emphasize how tiring and difficult this bar routine is, but now to do a toe full out of all this, because I did a toe full at the end of my bar routine, and my bar routine was like a third of this long, and I remember being like so tired, and I thought I was going to peel off the bar at any moment because my forearms were dead. I want to give a lot of attention to that because I don't think people understand that part of it also is the cardio part of how difficult bars is. Just like, you see in MMA and boxing, like it's a lot of stamina work and you're punching and your arms tired, you're fatigued, all that stuff. And that's very, very similar to what bars is. So now having to fight the tiredness, she does a toe full pretty well. Now she's got to go into her double layout. So out of the handstand, she's got to create enough momentum in the stretch right here. You'll see how flat her body is minus her hips. She starts to straddle, pike her hips down ever so slightly to kind of create, I give the analogy with my kids that seems to help a lot of them, is like when you're at the beach and you're trying to dig sand, you're not going to just like beat the shovel on the sand, like where it's flat. You're going to dig your shovel into the sand, scoop it out really hard, and then fling the sand, and you've got, this pretty big hole. That's essentially what she's doing right now. Right now, she's digging her shovel into the sand. Then as she does that, it goes into her arch technique. So you can see right here, she holds the arch from the top to the bottom underneath the low bar. Now in the green part, she's starting her arch kick, which that's the part with after you've dug the shovel in and you're pulling the shovel out to then throw it. That's the part she's in right now. She's in the part where we're digging deep and we're fighting the sand, and then we can throw it. So as she's fighting that sand, pulling right here, now it's time for her to fling that sand over her shoulder, okay? So she holds the arch, so right about here at 45 below the bar. Out of this type of arch, she's going to ping her toes up where the blue goes, and she's going to make sure her toes hit this horizontal hollow, I call it the macaroni shape for my kids. She's going to hit her macaroni shape, letting go at that same time. You can see her arms or her hands start to slightly let go of the bar as her toes are at horizontal, a little bit above the high bar because she's in a good macaroni shape. And then this is going to allow her to let go at the perfect time to not pull into the bar, get enough height for the double lay. Now, as she does the double lay and she's thrown off, she's got to work really hard because she's doing a double lay. Now she's going to use that ping, use that throw, use that shovel. Now she's got to lift her head up, lift her upper back up while she's going around for the double lay. So you can see her head's going up, her chest has to come up, and her hips have to be following her as well. So everything's going, of course, backwards, but it's leading, right? Head, shoulders, hips, but working all together in that momentum so she can pull herself around. She sees the ground right there. That's when she starts to kind of flatten out. She does pike down a little bit, and that allows the hop back to happen, as you see ever so slightly. So she could have held her hips open a little bit longer to then find the stick, but out of that bar routine, a little hop, like whatever. She got gold for a reason, babe. So, all right, let's stop. All right, you guys, that is it. Let me know other videos you'd like me to cover. I really want to cover the whole Jordan issue that's happening. I'm trying to educate myself more on what exactly is happening. I think I have a pretty good general overall analyzation of the full story on the parts with all involved, because there's 3 gymnasts involved. So let me know if that's something you guys would be interested in. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.